Hello and welcome to the Employee Benefits Insights series, designed to keep you up to date with the latest trends and solutions that will enable you to implement effective and efficient reward strategies after the fallout from the global pandemic. The speaker of this session will be on hand in the live chat room on the right of your screen to answer any questions you may have. The Q&A will continue for up to 10 minutes after the session has finished. Don't forget to follow us and get involved on social media by using the hashtag EBInsights21. This closing keynote session is entitled Placing Mental Health at the Very Centre of Your Wellbeing Strategy, sponsored by Unmind. Please welcome Interim Editor of Employee Benefits, Kavita Sivasubramaniam.
Hello and welcome to the Employee Benefits Insights closing keynote address. Our speaker this afternoon, Claire Walsh, is Health, Wellbeing and Injury Prevention Manager for the UK and rest of world at BAE Systems. She will explain how to foster a culture that builds a mentally healthy workplace, how to implement systems that ensure mental well-being remains high on the strategic agenda, and the ways in which you can give all employees the tools they need to keep their mental health in check. Welcome, Claire.
Good afternoon. My name is Claire Walsh and I'm the Health, Wellbeing and Injury Prevention Manager for BAE Systems, covering our UK and rest of world business. At BAE Systems, we provide some of the world's most advanced technology-led defence, aerospace and security solutions. We employ a skilled workforce of 87,800 people in more than 40 countries. Working with customers and local partners, we develop, engineer, manufacture and support products and systems to deliver military capability, protect national security and people, and keep critical information and infrastructure secure. Workplace well-being relates to all aspects of working life, from the quality and safety of the physical environment to how workers feel about their work, their working environment, the climate at work, and work organisation. Workers' well-being is a key factor in determining an organisation's long-term effectiveness. To understand the different states of well-being, the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development describes the well-being continuum. As the aim of any well-being strategy is to encourage both organisational and employee well-being, it is beneficial to highlight the words used to describe the various states of well-being, both positive and negative, that exist within the 5 domains described. Clearly, the aim of any strategy in action is to move or keep employees in a positive frame. A healthy workplace is one in which workers and managers collaborate to use a continual improvement process to protect and promote the health, safety and well-being of workers and the sustainability of the workplace by considering the following based on identified needs. Health and safety concerns in the physical work environment, health, safety and well-being concerns in the psychosocial work environment, including organisation of work and workplace culture, personal health resources in the workplace, and ways of participating in the community to improve the health of workers, their families and other members of the community. So the CIPD recognises that to truly achieve a healthy workplace, an employer needs to ensure that its culture, leadership and people management are the bedrock on which to build a fully integrated wellbeing approach. Line managers have a critical role to play in driving employee engagement, motivation and wellbeing. Managers need to drive that engagement. The 5 biggest drivers of engagement levels are a sense of achievement from work, feeling part of a team, the line manager-employee relationship, the ability to decide how to get jobs done, and prospects for career advancement. Managers have a role to play in all of these. And more open, empowering manager styles are connected to lower levels of stress, higher job satisfaction, and greater personal productivity than more command and control styles. The worst styles generate up to 4 times more stress than the best. As many as 28% of those whose line managers are secretive or suspicious in style report that they often feel stressed, compared to just 7% of those whose managers are empowering. Increased job satisfaction. The best management styles drive job satisfaction levels up to 2.5 times higher than the worst. And where innovative entrepreneurial and empowering management styles are found, more than 84% of managers are satisfied with their jobs. Where line managers are secretive and suspicious, fewer than 38% are satisfied. Personal productivity, managers report being twice as productive where the best management styles prevail. Where managers are innovative, 43% of managers rate their personal productivity as 90% or better. Again, where managers are secret or suspicious, only 20% score highly for personal productivity. Where organisations are growing, managers tend to be accessible, empowering and trusting. And declining firms are more likely to have secretive, risk-averse and authoritarian managers. Good leaders exhibit warmth, compassion and competence. They kill gossip, preserve confidentiality. And it's within your gift to make positive changes in your workplace, to make it a supportive, nurturing environment to attract and retain talent. Why would a leader not want to offer that kind of environment for their team to bring out the best in their performance? So a recent Guardian article has highlighted that psychologists are reporting a rise in pandemic burnout, as many people find the current phase of lockdowns harder, with an increasing number feeling worn out and unable to cope. They warn that many are finding the latest lockdown more difficult because of a realisation that coronavirus will be around longer than expected, dashed hopes about an easing of restrictions, and a period of sustained stress similar to overwork, which has prompted symptoms such as fatigue. Data also indicates that people are finding it harder to stay positive, with 60% of people in the UK saying they're finding it harder to stay positive daily compared with before the pandemic. And that's an 8-point increase from November, and that's been shown by an Ipsos Murray poll. When you look at burnout, by definition, you're talking about being too stressed for too long. There's this experience where your brain reaches capacity and goes, just cannot give the same mental attention to this anymore. And it's recognised that socioeconomic position is linked directly to health. And in the UK, there is a health inequalities gradient, with the least advantaged experiencing the worst health. Socioeconomic conditions can not only prevent people from changing their behaviours, but can also reinforce damaging ones. And the health inequalities that can result are a complex set of interactions such as long-term effects of a disadvantaged social position, differences in access to information, services and resources, differences in exposure to risk, a lack of control over one's own life circumstances, and a health system that may reinforce these social and economic inequalities. And these factors all affect people's ability to withstand the stressors, biological, social, psychological and economic, that can trigger ill health. They also affect the capacity to change behaviour, and we can see this borne out in the morbidity and mortality rates for COVID. Stress is the adverse reaction people have to excessive pressures or other types of demands placed on them. There is a clear distinction between pressure, which can create a buzz and be motivating, and stress, which occurs when the pressure becomes excessive. Now, if we consider the pressures that people have been experiencing over the last year and compare them to the known causes of poor mental health in the workplace, you can see how much the pandemic is likely to have affected employee performance. And more than ever, understanding the external factors that affect mental health at work is hugely important. And our brains and our bodies have been swamped with stress hormones for a long time. And the relationship between stress and performance has been portrayed by the stress response curve. In addition, pressure, an important stressor, also has a crucial influence on the individual's response to stress. And one of the most noticeable effects of stress in one's life is the change in performance. So the curve shows that as the level of stress increases, the performance level also increases to the point of eustress or healthy tension. Near the point of fatigue, an identified area called the comfort zone indicates the range of stress levels that we can absolutely manage and facilitates good performance levels. As stress begins to be perceived as overwhelming or excessive, the person reaches a fatigue point wherein the performance levels start to decline. The ultimate end of overwhelming stress, called burnout, can be exhaustion, ill health, or breakdown. As shown by the graph, performance levels increase when stress management is effective. So stressors such as pressure and demands can facilitate a better stress response, and so higher levels of performance. So for example, a basketball player tries to run faster, shoot a three-point shot, and succeeds in it because of the pressure he's obtained from the audience, the close scores, and tough opponents. Another example is the short but adequate deadline given to an employee, which motivates and encourages them to work actively and efficiently on the project assigned. Yet another instance is approaching a major exam, which leads to a student to double their time on studying and reviewing what they've learned. But when stress is perceived as uncontrollable or unmanageable, the person begins to experience a gradual to drastic decrease in performance levels, causing a decline in productivity and enthusiasm to respond to the stress. For example, a very tight deadline is given to an employee who has to take care of their 4 children at home and a sick mother in the hospital, for example. This overwhelming mix of situations, if not managed carefully, will result in a poor performance at work, bad relationship with other members of the family, ill health, and burnout. Pressure, one of the significant life stressors, affects performance as shown in this inverted U graph, which was created by Robert Yerkes and John Dodson in 1908. Looking at the left side of the graph, you'll notice that the low pressure or low levels of stress results to a person's stress response as boredom or unchallenging. Even if the task is greatly important, in the absence of an appropriate level of pressure, attention, and concentration, not going to be able to perform that task. On the other hand, that extreme level of pressure doesn't mean that there's going to be high performance levels. Again, it's the same as that result from the low pressure, due to unhappiness or negative feelings due to overwhelming stress. And we have this area called the area of best performance. And in that region, moderate pressure is going to result in optimum stress or stress that's manageable and lead to the highest levels of performance. We tend to think of stress almost exclusively as events that press in on our lives from outside, such as family disagreements, unreasonable managers, or financial troubles. But the majority of our stress in contemporary life is psychological in nature. It isn't the events that cause us stress, but how we respond to the stress. And the body's stress response is triggered by our perception of the situation. Being constantly in the stretch zone can lead to strain. Sustained demand without recovery can lead to people going into the strain zone. And if this is prolonged, this can develop further into overwhelmed, where stress and burnout occurs. Healthy and sustainable high performance occurs when people are able to move between the comfort and stretch. Our brains are not designed to be always on, and periods of recovery are needed between challenges. So where does this leave employees? These are the latest statistics from Business in the Community's UK-wide business research, covering the last 12 months. And what they tell us is that 41% of employees in the UK have experienced a work-related mental health issue in the last year, but only 56% of employees say they feel comfortable talking about mental health in the workplace. And in 2019-2020, in the UK, stress, depression, or anxiety accounted for 51% of all work-related ill health cases. And that equates to 55% of all lost working days due to ill health. And in total, the number of working days lost across the UK due to these conditions in that period was 17.9 million days, and an average of 21.6 days lost per case. The UK average of cost of poor mental health to businesses was £1,652 per employee, which includes absence cost, cost of presenteeism, and turnover cost. And of course, although these are significant costs, most importantly, if you have an effective mental health and wellbeing strategy, you'll have greater employee engagement, a more productive workforce, improved collaboration and innovation, and you'll be able to attract and retain employees. Research regularly shows that more can be done to tackle the stigma associated with mental health problems. increase awareness, and provide adequate training for employees from all walks of life. And to do that effectively, you want to establish a business-wide strategy to act as a framework to support positive mental health at work and create psychologically safe workplaces throughout your organisation. That strategy should define clear standards to be achieved and provide common tools and collateral to meet them, such as policy, guidance, toolkits for managers, employees, perhaps mental health first aiders, defined training needs for different groups, an overarching communications and engagement plan and material, especially around events and awareness days. And the Stevenson Farmer Thriving at Work report, which was published in 2017, lays out an excellent framework of core and enhanced standards and is a really good place to start. These say to produce, implement and communicate a mental health at work plan that promotes good mental health of all employees and outline the support available to those who may need it. You should develop a mental health awareness amongst employees by making information, tools and support accessible. You can provide employees with good working conditions and ensure they have a healthy work-life balance and opportunities for development. You should seek to encourage open conversations about mental health and the support available when employees are struggling. During the recruitment process and regular intervals throughout employment, offer appropriate workplace adjustments to employees who require them. Promote effective people management to ensure all employees have regular conversations about their health and well-being with their line manager, supervisor or leader, and train and support line managers and supervisors in effective management practices. And you can routinely monitor employee health and well-being data by understanding the information that you have, talking to employees, and understanding the risk factors. The Stevenson Farmer report also suggests some enhanced standards, and their long-term ambition is that many employers can and will go beyond the core standards outlined already. That report recommends that public sector employers and the 3,500 private sector companies with more than 500 employees could deliver the following mental health enhanced standards, and together that will ensure that between the core and enhanced standards would reach around 46% of the working population who work in those organisations. The enhanced standards are to increase transparency and accountability through internal and external reporting, including a leadership commitment and outline of the organisation's approach to mental health. Demonstrate accountability by nominating a health and wellbeing lead at board or senior leadership level with clear reporting duties and responsibilities. Improve the disclosure process to encourage openness during recruitment and throughout employment, ensuring employees are aware of why the information is needed and making sure that the right support is in place to facilitate good employer response following that disclosure. Ensure the provision of tailored in-house mental health support and signposting to clinical help, including digital support, employer-purchased occupational health, or employee assistance programs or NHS services, amongst other sources of support. And larger employees have also got a significant influence through their supply chains, customers and contractors, and can use this influence to encourage and support smaller employers to implement the mental health core standards, as well as sharing resources and knowledge. And many smaller employees will also aspire to or be able to implement those enhanced standards. And if you look critically at your existing policies and procedures, you'll probably find that you already have the best part of the tools that you need. You can leverage these in your mental health work without necessarily having to make any changes. You just need to consider how you can influence how these are used. For example, in any business, planning for peaks and troughs of work make good business sense. And if you plan this properly, you should have considered the resources you need to deliver whatever service you provide. If you have a plan to change and communicate effectively, employees will feel less disrupted about that change. So none of this is specifically about mental health or well-being, but as basic good management has the side effect of reducing the likelihood of those stress factors arising. And if you haven't already done so, get your health and safety team involved. Hazard and risk are the absolute cornerstone of that profession. We want to be looking at primary prevention, stopping mental health problems before they start. Stopping the problems before they occur and promoting mental health for all is about a universal target to communities. For example, many anti-stigma campaigns or mental health literacy programs. We then think about secondary prevention, which is supporting those at higher risk of experiencing mental health problems. Perhaps there's some biological characteristics they've been born with, or there's experiences that they've had. And again, there you're looking to provide targeted help and support. This type of prevention is also called selective or targeted prevention, and experiences examples of those programs which support those who have experienced trauma or been victims of hate crime. Tertiary prevention is about helping people living with mental health problems to stay well. So supporting those with mental health problems to stay well and have a good quality of life. Those types of programs often focus on those already affected by mental health problems and can aim to reduce symptoms that can be disabling, limit complications, and empower people who are experiencing problems to manage their own symptoms as much as possible. Tertiary prevention is seen as distinct but complementary to treatment for mental health problems and is also carried out in community rather than clinical settings. But a focus on tertiary or even secondary interventions doesn't address the causes of poor mental health at work. An employer who offers a psychologically safe working environment based on support and mutual trust will have greater organisational resilience and higher performance than one that doesn't. So a distinction can also be made between organisational, task or job level, and individual orientations. Primary interventions that are proactive by nature, the aim being to prevent that exposure to a known risk factor and in that way prevent the harmful effects from emerging. They could also aim to enhance an individual's tolerance or resilience. And that secondary intervention can also aim to reverse or reduce or slow the progression of any ill health or any pre-existing conditions or increase individual resources. The secondary approaches may include early detection and treatment with the aim of reducing that severity or duration of symptoms and halt or slow the further development of any more serious or potentially disabling conditions. And the tertiary intervention is very much rehabilitative by nature, aimed at reducing negative impact and healing damages. So they're aiming to treat and manage an existing diagnosed condition and minimise its impact on the daily functioning through approaches such as rehabilitation, relapse prevention, providing access to resources and support, and helping people back into the workplace because being at work is good for you. So I'd like to share with you some of the ways that we've been working to keep our employees informed and engaged throughout this difficult time. The first thing that was developed early on in March 2020 was a COVID frequently asked questions for our line managers and employees. And as you can imagine, it was updated very frequently. That was quickly followed by an information hub on the intranet. A COVID-19 workstream project was established to take the lead in developing information and support. And one of the work streams was employee wellbeing, and we developed collateral in that area, which was then added to the hub. And that covered information such as setting up a suitable working environment at home, tips for maintaining wellbeing. The rollout of our new employee smartphone app was accelerated, and that provided a valuable way of getting in touch with employees who don't have access to our intranet, as well as quick notifications of updated information. Senior leaders were recorded for videos, podcasts, and again, these were promoted throughout all our communications channels. And they provided great opportunities for employees to react, comment, and share as well. So the employee app grew quickly with a mixture of business and employee-led content. During October last year, we marked World Mental Health Day with a podcast and an interview with the executive sponsor for mental health and one of our employees who talked openly about his mental health experiences. That podcast started in our submarines business, and that's now developed into something that all of the business units can be involved with. We've built a channel on our new online learning app where we've got free mental health and wellbeing content available to employees and their families. And you'll probably find, as I said earlier, that your HR policies and procedures do already offer opportunities to support mental health and wellbeing. So supplementary COVID-specific guidance was added to a number of our policies, and there was guidance on topics such as home and hybrid working introduced to account for the changes in how we were working. We also developed a conversation toolkit for managers, who we know often find it difficult to start a conversation around mental health or wellbeing. Of course, these softer skills are something that managers need all the time, not just during a pandemic, so there's room for development in that toolkit to help managers lead their teams. So one of our most successful tools was a set of webinars delivered by an external partner. We began in May with managing personal energy and built a suite of 7 original webinars. These were then added to throughout the year as we gathered feedback from attendees. And we've had over 5,000 spaces taken up on these sessions. Now, we even included some additional information and content specific to our Kingdom of Saudi Arabia employees. This is the data for 2020, beginning in May. So as you can see, over 5,000 spaces, and we've been able to continue this year, adding on extra content. So we've now got a suite of 12. Each of the live sessions, as I say, has a recorded session, so people can listen back if they need to, and we're developing and building on these all the time. We found that they've proved to be a really, really cost-effective way of delivering content and support to employees. And as you can see, we've had some really great feedback. Our next goal is to encourage our operational population to take advantage of either the live sessions or recordings. And we've created a short video to show how to log in and access recordings on a smartphone. So from the beginning of January this year, we've already run another 18, and many of them have been fully subscribed. Each session can host 195 people. Mental health implementation is a process, not a one-time event, but you can use the pandemic to keep the door open. There's often existing good practice, which just means signposting, gaining employee involvement, and recognising opportunities to talk about mental health. And I would really recommend that you can build your culture of psychological safety by extending the reach of workplace mental health and wellbeing, considering organisational factors, culture, interpersonal relationships. Building on existing health and safety and mental health policies. Think about where that touches other policies, other roles, different departments. You can balance the promotion of workplace wellbeing with culture and employee engagement tactics. And use your existing SHE, occupational health, communications and employee benefits tools as a really solid basis for that development. Create an evidence-based approach to support line managers in protecting mental health. And finally, these ideas are not new. You just need to remind people that they're there. Thank you.
Thanks, Claire, for that enlightening presentation. I think many organisations now recognise the importance of looking after their employees' well-being, and in particular their mental health, especially during this pandemic. And the success of the BAE webinar shows that supporting employees in this way doesn't have to cost a lot of money. Thanks again, Claire. Your presentation was really insightful.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our closing keynote session. Thank you to our sponsor, Unmind. Please be sure to ask any remaining questions you may have in the live chat. Thank you for tuning in.